This video is part of the online course Europe and Young People: How Citizenship Works in the European Context. The meaning of citizenship is getting even more complex in a rapidly changing world. The simple definition of citizenship is the relationship between an individual and a political community, conventionally the state. More broadly, citizenship refers to the outcomes of an interaction and negotiation between the personal needs, interests, values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors of citizens and the communities in which they participate. One could say that citizenship, in a nutshell, is the individual and the political community existing in a complicated relationship. The idea of citizenship can be tracked back to the classical era of the Greeks and Romans, from where it developed to modern times, reflecting the changing principles of political thought and governance throughout history. For a long time, citizenship was a privilege, available only to the selected few. In the contemporary world, citizenship as a legal status recognized by a state has become mainstream for nearly everyone. However, the process of defining the purpose of citizenship, what all of its dimensions and issues are, and the dilemmas of belonging is ongoing. To understand citizenship better, it should be looked at from different perspectives. Two opposite orientations towards citizenship can be identified in modern thinking. The so-called liberal individualist view emphasizes the state's responsibility to secure the basic rights and liberties for individuals so that they can pursue their goals in society. According to this view, a citizen has a passive, rights-bearing role. On the other hand, the civic republican view emphasizes active democratic participation in political life as an inherent part of citizenship. In practice, both perspectives influence how citizenship is actually realized and lived. Citizenship does not, however, function only in the realm of civic rights and responsibilities, nor does it only concern political solutions on how societies are organized. It also has a social or cultural dimension, which connects people to personal and collective identities and sense of belonging. Citizenship forms invisible ties between people and makes them dependent on each other. The glue that's held many traditional communities together is the idea of a collective identity derived from ethnicity, common language, cultural heritage, values, belief systems, and traditions, whether they're actually shared by all community members or only apparently so just on the surface. In modern times, however, people lived in societies which are far more complex. Nevertheless, the characteristics of uniting and separating people have not become completely insignificant. On the contrary, since in diverse societies, many contradictory views and lifestyles prevail. Modern citizenship aims at uniting different people and groups sharing a certain territory within a single political regime and its institutionalized systems, and through this, create a common civic identity and promote equality and social cohesion. However, it's often been questioned if such a universal approach takes into consideration the specific needs of subgroups and minorities. The term identity politics refers to a tendency of people sharing a particular identity to form exclusive political alliances to advance their rights for a common cause. A big challenge of the state or any political community is to find a balance between universal and differentiated approaches towards its citizens in order to achieve justice and equality as far as possible. In the contemporary independent world, a state-bound citizenship has also ceased to be sufficient to find solutions for issues that concern people beyond borders. The need to establish rights and responsibilities according to these new affiliations is becoming ever more pressing. Global challenges, such as climate change, for example, tie our destinies together, whether we like it or not. The concept of global citizenship has emerged to capture the sense of belonging and responsibility for humanity as such. Taking responsibility requires mechanisms to take action, and this is more challenging on a global scale. But if we can't change the whole world at once, we can start somewhere closer. Like we said at the beginning of this course, citizenship in Europe is quite often perceived as citizenship of the European Union. However, another way of looking at it goes beyond the institutions, towards a space for citizens in Europe looking actively for common solutions. This perspective highlights citizenship in Europe as a commitment to fundamental European values and the variety of opportunities and mechanisms to take action on their behalf. This is formally recognised by the Council of Europe and the European Union and their member states, respected as a guiding principle in their policies and put directly into practice through the provision of educational and social programmes and initiatives available for citizens and stakeholders in civil society. Knowing that citizenship is conventionally associated with states and their mechanisms for democratic participation, such as voting, it is challenging to embrace citizenship as something more and to show that voting is just one formal expression of it. But citizenship is understood as a relationship between an individual and any political community. We can see that, as a matter of fact, we are all part of several interlinked political communities at different levels, and we all have several expressions of citizenship. We also have different ways to negotiate our identification with and belonging to these communities. We might not even have an equal status and consequently equal opportunities to be recognised and have our say. For example, a young person from Albania cannot express her citizenship in Europe by voting in the European parliamentary elections, since her country is not part of the European Union. The same young person, however, can actively take part in a civic initiative at the European level, which aims at communicating certain messages from European youth to policymakers in the European Union and other European countries. This young person can also be fully committed to European values, which she promotes, and which direct her actions in her local context. Isn't this young person a citizen of Europe? It would be difficult to argue anything contrary. Therefore, we propose to recognise citizenship in Europe as a civic, political and social orientation to European society beyond the merged legal rights and responsibilities of formal citizenship that a state or the European Union, for example, entitles its citizens to have. It implies an acceptance and commitment to spending time and energy for the common good of Europe and to making this an important part of one's identity. It also requires co-citizen relations, meaning that citizens who mutually recognise this aspect of their citizenship actively create spaces where they can gather, discuss and take action. By proposing this, we also acknowledge the fact that citizenship is a dynamic concept which reflects again and again the ways we negotiate and renegotiate who we are, how we relate to each other and how we want to live together. Finally, citizenship always connects with our morality, our most fundamental conceptions and values. Citizenship in Europe, as we propose it here, is primarily a value-based, ethical approach to living in and building tomorrow's Europe. This video is part of the online course Europe and Young People: How Citizenship Works in the European Context. The course has been funded with support of the Erasmus Programme in the field of youth.